What's up, my beautiful family? It's your girl, Dr. Shauna, and I'm here to talk a little bit more about coronavirus 19, aka COVID 19. We're going to have a conversation, so y'all need to pop on into this room. Put your critical thinking hat on, bring your pen and paper because today is going to be a lesson. Yes, it is. Hello to you too, my Gwendolyn. How are you doing? Listen, guys, before we get started, I have some housekeeping that I would like to do. But as always, I'm going to ask you guys to do me a favor. It costs you nothing, $0 to do me this favor. Not only do I want you to like this video, and to comment on this video. But most importantly, I want you guys to share the videos. I cannot stress that enough. Let's share the video because it's healthy discourse. We're going to keep it nice. We're going to keep it nice. I do have some apologies to make before we get started. So that's going to be part of my housekeeping. I have some apologies that I want to get out there. I got to make sure I do that. Because sometimes I just get beside myself and I have some apologies. And I have a confession that I need to make. I have a confession. What else did I need to go on before we get started on this coronavirus and the conversations I've been having with black folks? Sometimes black folks are draining. Sometimes my sisters and brothers can be draining. I swear can be draining. But I love every last one of you guys. Facebook, unfortunately, we don't have any moderators on Facebook because that's not possible. But on YouTube, to my moderators on YouTube, you know how it goes. As long as the conversation is healthy, they can stay. If they want to start calling names, being disrespectful, talking about people on this feed that don't have nothing to do with the goddamn video, you know how I do. Block, ban, delete. I ain't got time for people. I don't got time for people. So let's get into the hellos and the housekeeping. So let me go to Facebook first, community, as you guys are coming on. So I want to say hello to, I always messed up your name, Nadira Muhammad. I know Nadira. I know that name. But the first name, I'm not too sure how to pronounce it, so I don't want to say it. But what's up, sister? We got TF Morgan on, Elena Baku. We got Simone, Gloria. I love every last one of you guys. I know there's more, but my feed is kind of slow on YouTube. Make sure you share the video, guys. We have Trillian Basso on YouTube. We got Raymond. Peace and blessings to you too, Raymond. Raymond, let's make you a moderator. You are a moderator, Raymond. We got Purple Queens. How you doing? We have Candy, Natural. We have Gwendolyn. We have Scorpio. Ooh, Scorpio girl. Ooh, Scorpios. My best friend is a Scorpio. Me and Scorpios, we get along so well, but we knock heads so much because I'm an Aquarius. But we are best of friends. Scorpios and Aquarius are some best in friends in relationships. Unless you are a mature person, you ain't going to be able to get through a Scorpio if you are an Aquarius, or an Aquarius if you are a Scorpio. Because we are both on point. Scorpios and Aquarius are some on point people. We are very witty. We can see right through the souls of people. We know the bullshit when we see it. The difference between the Aquarius and the Scorpio, we're both sensitive. The Scorpio should show their emotions a lot more than us. You know, I brush that shit off and keep it moving. It ain't that serious. I'll cut you off in a heartbeat. A Scorpio will have to cry about it. They'll be hurt about it. And I don't know why they crying and hurt about it, because I done moved on, had a nice life, move on to the next. Ain't no problem with me. I ain't losing sleep, but the Scorpio will lose all type of sleeps. But the Scorpio and Aquarius ain't no joke together. We ain't no joke. But let me get on to the housekeeping. So first things first, my sisters and brothers. Somebody said Pisces, Aquarius, born on the cusp. Yes. Scorpio said, that's right. We don't cry. No, we don't cry. We just two different. We the same people. We're just different the way we go about it. And you know, us Aquarius, we got a tongue. We don't know how to watch our tongue. Like, we slick with our words. Real witty. We'll cut you from the waist down with a smile. And half the people don't even know we're being disrespectful. Because we're just so witty with our words. Whereas Scorpios are vengeful. They'll go from 0 to 100 real quick. They'll be ready to get it in. Me, when my girlfriend's ready to get it in, I'll be like, I'll be calm. Nobody don't hit her. Somebody hit her. Everybody dying, right? Because Aquarius are not, We like to act like we ain't crazy, but we ain't got it all up in our heads. But you know us, when we get angry, we don't see no colors. It's just red. That's all we see is red. We going for the jugular. Somebody's got to go. Woo, telling all my secrets. But here's my apology. So a few days ago on YouTube, on Facebook, I did a live video and I went live from my town and I let you guys see what was going on in my town and everything like that. Then we had a little visitor, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe we had a non-melanin visitor into our camp. And you know our rules are people going to watch. Anybody's going to watch. People from all different walks of life watch my videos. And the reason why I know is I get the inboxes and I get the emails. They watch, and you're more than welcome. But if you start acting privileged and you start showing your true non-color, I'm going to show mine, right? And sometimes when I show my color, I forget that I'm a professional. I forget that some people hold me to a higher standard. And I can't help it because I'm human and I'm from the Bronx. And you know, you can take me from the hood, but you can't take hood out of me. You know, I mean, I know how to walk the walk and talk the talk and dress the dress. And I know how to do all of that. But if you come for me, I'm coming for you and you're getting stitches. It's just as simple as that. When I'm not able to keep it back. When I want to get at you, I'm going to get at you. So my confession is I said some things on my Facebook video that may have offended some people. And I wasn't trying to offend anybody. I was talking to one person in particular. And they know exactly who they are because I said their name. But I realized that some people may have gotten offended by some of the things that I said. And it wasn't coming at nobody else. By no means am I making fun of anybody of an IEP. Because y'all know my son up into high school had an IEP, so I'm not making fun of nobody's IEP because I was a parent of a child that had an IEP, so I dropped that thing like a bad habit, you know, and he's doing just fine. Or honor roll, college AP courses. He's the bomb digger. He's the second in his class without an IEP. So, you know, I did make a comment about IEP and I did make a comment about the short yellow bus. And I know some people may have gotten offended, but I was not taking jabs at my sisters and brothers. As you know, my son was on a short yellow bus too when he was in elementary school. So I clearly wasn't making fun of that. But I just wanted to get at the visitor that was on that wanted to show his privilege. And I wanted to let him know there's no privilege on this site. So that's my confession, and I'm sorry, boo. I'm sorry if I offended anybody. What else did I have to say? So that was that. Another thing I have to say, guys, before we get started, the census. The census. The census. So you should have already received something in the mail from the census. Before we get started, let me just get a little briefer on the census, okay? I'm not going to go deep into the census on this video, but I am going to go deep on another video regarding the census. Sisters and brothers, I know as black folks, we are suspect about everything. I get it. And I'm not saying all of us here. I'm saying too many of us, it passed down from slavery. I mean, we just have the suspect. We have the mistrust and the distrust for very good reasons. Very good reasons. But you have to really understand how the census works because the census is actually constitutional law. And I'm not going to get into it right now. I'm going to do another video on the census because this is due by April 1st. So it's important for us to have this video. Maybe tomorrow or the day after, I'm going to do a video on the census. But I want you guys to know, if you have it in your box, make sure you fill out your census. What they are doing this year, they have already slated it to be online, and I understand some of us do not have access to a PC or a Mac, a computer. Some of us do not have access to internet, and that's just the reality. Maybe not you guys watching, but the reality is we cannot have this mindset of thinking that everybody in our community just got it. Everybody in our community, I'm not talking about community, I'm not talking about geographical location, I'm talking about our bondage that we have from our experience and the color of our skin. That's what I mean when I say community. Not everybody in our community has access to computers. So if you don't, they will send you a paper form. If they send you a paper form or you have access to a computer, please fill it out. Fill it out. I'm going to do a deeper video on this. I'm not going to go on this, but it's so much that we have to talk about because they're not sending, they may not be sending you multiple census papers to your address if your address is a house, and even though you have people renting from you, they may not know. So we're going to talk about how you need to fill this out. If you have people renting rooms from you, if you have an illegitimate two family house, or three family house. Some houses are not legitimate. I'm not trying to make fun. I'm not trying to do any of that, but I'm just telling the truth for what it is. Not everybody registers their house as rental properties, although they probably should, so they won't get in any trouble, but not everyone does. So we have to really have this conversation about how to fill out the census. I see a lot of my people on YouTube saying that they got their letters, and I see people on Facebook saying the same thing. Great. I see somebody else saying that they came in from Michi's channel. Thank you. Michi is my sister. That's my sister. I love Michi. I have to speak to Michi to see what's happening with the Black Agenda Tour, being that we are in this pandemic. And I'm touching my eyes and stuff. Y'all know I'm a hypochondriac. I'm about to spray bleach in my eyes and shit so I can make sure I kill any virus. But okay, I'm going to go back to the census in another video, but let's get started. We are going to talk about the claim that Blacks are immune to COVID-19, aka coronavirus. We are going to have this conversation. We have to have this conversation, my sisters and brothers. It has to be had. So make sure you get your pen and paper, because everything that I say here is going to be rooted in research, and you can always go back and do your own studies. I want to make a disclaimer. I am not saying that as it stands right now, March 17th, 2020, I believe today is still the 17th. I don't know whether I'm coming or going. But as it stands right now, I'm not going to say that we as a community of people, as a collective, may have the lowest numbers. We may have the lowest numbers, but it does not mean we are immune. So we got to understand what tends to happen in our community when we have rumors like we are immune from such diseases. It can have very devastating consequences for us. So we're going to have that conversation. Very devastating consequences for us. And I'm not just talking about contracting it. I'm talking about societal. I'm talking about with history. I'm talking about with experiments. I'm talking about with medical neglect. I'm talking about with the disparities that we have when it comes to our health. So we got to be very careful about what we are spreading and what we are saying when it boils down to us, melanin people, and us, Black people, and us, descendants of Africans. We have to be very, very careful with what we are saying, because it has devastating consequences. And all of this stuff is rooted in our history. Here in America, under chattel slavery, we gotta be very careful. We gotta be very careful. What I don't like, sisters and brothers, is the hypocrisy. I know somebody on my page says, "Oh, someone could say that you're a hypocrite, Dr. Shauna, because you use stats and statistics for everything else, but you want to ignore the stats for coronavirus." Let me tell you something. You clearly don't understand research, because this is a developing pandemic. So any stats are out right now are subject to change, number one, right? Because it's developing. It is developing, meaning it is not said and done. It is not over. We cannot really pull the cases and the numbers and say that this is what it is, number one. Everyone looks at the fact that China has 80,000 people or something like that. You got to understand that this virus has originated in China. So the place that it hits first is always going to have the highest numbers. You don't have to be a researcher to know that. You don't have to be a doctor to know that. You don't have to be a science to know that. You can just use critical thinking skills to understand that where it first starts is where you're going to get the most cases, because they were the ones that didn't know what was happening to them. People were getting sick. People were dying. They were trying to figure it out. And that's what happens with any type of epidemic. That's what happens with any type of pandemic. We got to figure it out. And all the other nations that get it subsequential, they're not going to have it at the same degree of China unless they were just simply ignorant and did not follow what everyone else is doing. That is the bottom line. So I say that to say, I am not on here to say that our numbers are not lower. I am not on here to say that because our numbers are lower. The argument is the dangers of communicating that we are immune. First of all, it is a lie, number one. Let's just be honest. It is a lie, but there are grave consequences when we're putting it out there that we are immune. And this is rooted in history. So I'm going to give y'all some time to get your pen and paper, because you're going to have to look it up for everything I'm talking about. So you got to understand that, despite the evidence that's out there, contrary to the evidence, we are perpetuating a myth. We are perpetuating a myth. And when myths happen about us, our supernatural inoculations, our supernatural immunity, and all this other stuff, when we have these kind of conversations, I don't want to see none of y'all on here, for the people that is perpetuating this myth, I don't want to see none of y'all on here talking about more black people going missing. And they ain't doing nothing about it. And nobody care about our black women and our black men. And people are coming up missing with organs. We already know that we are missing. We already know that bodies have been found with no organs. We already know that melanin is being sold on the black market for $500 a milligram. We already know this stuff. And if we out there talking about superhero, more of your ass is going to be kidnapped. Period. Period. And I'm not even being funny. I'm being dead serious. I'm not being funny. So we got to watch what we put out there. We got to watch what we put out there. We all excited, making these memes, putting this information out there. And then you wonder why our ass is getting snatched up. Our asses is being put in situations that are dangerous for our health. We wonder why. This kind of stuff is happening. I don't know about you, but for the record, white America, for the record, Dr. Shauna's melanin ain't serious, and my immunity ain't serious. Don't come after me. Go after everybody else that's claiming that they are immune. Leave me and my children alone. We just like you. We get sick and we die too. We just like you. You don't want my blood. You don't want my immunity. You don't want my organs. You don't want my organs. Right? You don't see me out here telling everybody that I'm immune and I can't get it. Shit, you don't want my organs. They ain't no good to you. Y'all get what I'm saying? I haven't even gotten into it yet. I think I can end the video. I think that's it. I don't mean to give you all the research. I can just end the video. That's what, because that's very important here. I'm sitting out here and I'm listening to everybody. Oh, we black this, black that. I said, oh, no. Why would we want to put any kind of false theories in any of these crazy people's head that are fascinated with black skin, fascinated with black bodies, fascinated with black DNA? Baby. Speak for yourself, black folk. Don't come over here and speak for me. Don't speak for me. Speak for yourself. And I mean it. I mean it. Because this is serious. This is serious what we're putting out there. So let's go on. Here's the thing, sisters and brothers, we cannot ignore what is known. We cannot ignore what is known. We know that there have been and there are black people infected. See, we cannot make a joke out of all of this, right? So if I put up Idris Elba and I see what people are saying and I understand and I'm laughing at some of it I'm not laughing at, but whatever. They're like, oh, he rubbing shoulders with these people. That's why he got it, because he laying out with this and da-da-da-da. Listen, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but we cannot ignore the fact that the brother got it, right? We cannot ignore the fact that Kevin Durant has tested positive. We cannot ignore the fact that Rudy Gobert or something like that, another NBA player, has tested positive. We cannot ignore the fact of the videos of black people, from a black man in particular, from the hospital with breathing tubes on him, talking about his experience with COVID. And he looked like he a true black brother. You know, some people are black, like, you know, you look at them and ain't no, you don't have to look at them like, what you mixed with? No, he's a true black brother and he's suffering from it. All right. So we know that there are people out there. Somebody said, I saw him. Exactly. We know that there are people out there. But despite the evidence, despite the fact that not only here in America black people have it, but despite the evidence that Algeria and Africa has contracted cases, maybe not a lot, but they have contracted cases. Ghana has contracted cases. Nigeria has contracted cases. In some of the places, some of them are foreigners that have come, but that's all you need is a foreigner to come. And some of them are native Africans. And they have contracted it. There's a Kenya woman I posted about her, 27 years old. She was in the U.S. and she went home by way of London, meaning she left the U.S. Her flight stopped in London, and from London it went straight to her place, her home, and she has it. So you got to understand with a pandemic, my brothers and sisters, you got to understand it don't matter if it was not in your region. The minute somebody visits from your region or returns home to your region from a foreign region, you can contract it. And that's what we should be focusing on. And if any of my critical thinkers and conscious people out there, if you've been watching and studying what's happening to the various areas of Africa, you would know all through Africa, in many areas, you're going to see Asian people. Now, I don't know if they're Chinese, most of them are, but I'm sure there's other types of Asian too. But in most, you see Asian people because the African government shakes hands with the Asian government and they borrow money to develop their nations. So if you know that these people travel to and from their country, why would you assume that it's not going to go over to Africa? See, we got to be smart. We got to be smart. Why is that an assumption? Look at people, ain't nobody got it in Africa. Did you really think, I mean, when was the last time y'all really checked on South Africa? And who's all in South Africa? I mean, the Boers was what, the French or the Dutch? Wasn't it a war and all that stuff? Didn't the whites colonize South Africa particularly? I mean, don't they travel back and forth? You don't think that they're bringing diseases back to the motherland? It's just things like that oh my God. Like, I read this kind of stuff and I'm like, are y'all crazy? Those must be the people that have no understanding of Africa whatsoever. Africa is not one country. It is multiple countries. And there are foreigners through a lot of these countries in Africa. So you really think it was going to be COVID-19 free? I don't get it. I don't get it. So why is it dangerous for people to perpetuate this myth that black people are immune from COVID-19? Why is it dangerous? Here's why it's dangerous. Because unsubstantiated claims has devastating effects, and we see it in history. We see it all the way back to the 18th century, and that is the 1700s, my brothers and sisters. The 1700s. We see it all the way back to there, how it has dangerous claims. So I want you to first, before I even get into yellow fever, y'all might as well just write it down on your paper and star it, because we're going to talk about yellow fever. But before I even get into yellow fever, let's even consider the fact that in our history, as descendants of slavery that came over to, let me say that over, descendants of chattel slavery, I want to make that distinction. Because everyone likes to say, well, I'm a descendant of slavery. I'm a Native American. We were slaves. Okay, you know what? If you talk about language, I get it. All right. If you want to talk about language, just language only, I get it. But were you a descendant of chattel slavery? I doubt it. You even got white folk, poor white folk. Oh, we were slaves too. Okay, you may have came over here on indentured servitude, but if you're trying to if you're trying to count indentured servitude as slavery, okay, if you want to play with those languages, I don't think it's the same thing because we know it's not. However, since you want to play games, let me ask you a question. But were you an indentured servant of chattel slavery? No, you weren't. So what do we know about that? For those of us who came through here, our ancestors were subjected to chattel slavery. What do we know about having myths about the black body during that time? So what we do know is one of the myths where we don't feel pain like anybody else feels pain. So what were the consequences for that myth being perpetuated? We were worked like slaves. Well, we weren't slaves, so clearly we were slaves. However, we were worked like workhorses, like animals. We were believed not to be human. They believed that we did not feel pain like anybody else. It was a lie, and it became pseudoscience. It was somebody's idea that they had in their head with no evidence, and it became pseudoscience. And that science was written down, and it became the premise of how they treated us during slavery, working us for 18 hours out of the day, 16 hours out of the day, so much that our bones were detaching from our limbs because we were being worked to death. Our death rate, the age in which we were dying, was a lot younger than what we're living right now because we were overworked. We were dying from exertion. It was terrible for us because somebody's pseudoscience saying we do not feel pain. So we like to perpetuate. Nah, you know how it is. You know how we get it in. We the strongest. We the baddest. Yeah, we got bred. We were breeded for certain things. Absolutely. But I don't know about you. I don't walk around telling anybody I'm the strongest and the baddest. I don't put that in my enemy's mind. Because I'll be damned if everybody else gets to go home and I got to work until midnight. And that's what happens. It gets perpetuated. Listen, you guys know back in the day, I used to be an investigator for the state of New Jersey. And I used to go into homes and investigate people for various things and all this. And whenever any of the bad cases came in, I'm talking about the horrific cases, the cases that were in bad areas too. I'm talking about you get shot at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Your body will be there for about 2-3 hours before the coroner comes and everybody's taking pictures of you. I'm talking about bad areas. Who do you think got those cases? Do you think Lily White Girl in the office got those kind of cases? Do you think Sister Privilege got those kind of cases? They would take those cases out of rotation. They would take it out of rotation and they would look for the black face in the office to give them those cases. And I was the one that used to speak up. I was the one to say, I don't live over here either. Why do you think I can handle this case better than anybody else? I don't live in this community either. Now, I wasn't scared to do the case, I'll tell you that much. But as far as I'm concerned, when Lily White Girl act like she's scared, I'm scared too. When she don't want to be in danger, I don't want to be in danger too. She can take the case. I'll be her buddy, but let it be her case. I don't want to deal with the family either. I'm tired. If she can't get it, I can't get it. Because I understand what is rooted in history. I understand how they look at us. I understand the racist beliefs that go on in people's mind. That is called implicit bias or implicit racism. That is what it's called. When it's in their head, you don't know what they're thinking. You don't know what their thoughts are, what their beliefs are. It's in their head, and they're the only ones that's privy to it. That means it's implicit. It is implicit racism. It is implicit bias. So I'm not going to have her cry and me get the case because I'm black, and because your white face think because I'm black, I can relate to the family better. Nope, not me. We are not going to perpetuate these myths. We're not going to do it. So it's the same concept. When I talk about how we get out there and we start spreading this information, I always say it that we as black folks, we are in a fish bowl, and the world, not just white folks, the world is watching us. Whether they admit to it or not, they are watching us. And they figure out what they're going to do to us based on what the conversation is. So we have to be very careful. We got to be very careful of the stuff that we're putting out there, especially when it's not rooted in evidence. So you get mad if you want to. Some of y'all going to be mad at Dr. Sharna today. It's okay. It's okay. Because like I said, on the Dr. Sharna's page, I don't care about any other page you go to. Go to anybody else's page for your entertainment. I don't care. We're critical thinkers here. We're going to explore everything from multiple levels to see how it's going to impact us and our family units. And we don't understand the dangers that we put ourselves in. It is rooted in our history, and we have to be mindful of this. Stuff like we don't get sick like everybody else. That is a bold-faced lie. And because we walk around and we perpetuate that lie, our health care, they don't take us seriously when we go into the health doctor. And this is just not me. You can go ahead and do all of your research on health disparities, and you will see, because they believe we tolerate pain better, because they believe we don't get sick like everybody else, we could go into the emergency room and complain about our heart hurting. And we have dropped dead on the floor of the waiting room, waiting to be seen because they did not take our claims seriously. Come on, how many nurses do we have in here? How many doctors we have in here? Let me know. How many nurses, doctors, or people in the medical field, the health fair? How many? Somebody saying me. How many is it? Come on, come on. We know, okay, so somebody's an RN. Thank you for that. Now, let's be honest. Have you witnessed people in your hospitals, your medical rooms, facilities that have dropped dead waiting for care, waiting for medical care? Let me know, because I can pull up a whole bunch of cases on that. Right? Somebody said, yup. Somebody's saying facts. Come on. Come on. That's what it is. And people don't take us seriously, especially if you're black and you're poor. See, we already know. We already got a strike for being black. You put poor on top of it, oh, it's a whole nother dynamic when you walk into the medical room. If you put black, poor, and unmarried, and you got kids, and you a woman, oh, it's a whole nother dynamic when you walk into the medical room. And we know this because research has documented it. And you see the nurses and stuff saying facts. I don't have to make this up. Right? Even with sickle cell, they're not treated the way they should be treated. And that is a very painful disorder to have. I got people in my family with the full trait of sickle cell. And these people run to the doctor constantly. And the doctors don't tell them what they should be telling them. They don't tell them the things that they can be taking that will help them tremendously. They don't tell them. And unfortunately, for the ones who are poor and undereducated, it hurts them more. It hurts them more. Because people do not take our sickness seriously, and is rooted in history. Is rooted in history. It has stemmed from chattel slavery because they believe, oh, those people, they like workhorses. They don't get sick. They can work through anything. They can withstand anything. Did you know that there used to be experiments on us with heat, putting us in pots with hot water to see how much we were able to take, because the belief was we have a high tolerance for temperature, for heat. That was the belief. You don't have to believe me. You can go do your own research. And this became pseudoscience. And you better believe it got passed down not only among white people, but black people bought into it too. Black people bought into the myths and the lies as well. So you know, if I'm only, let me see here, let me pause. How many generations am I out? So we got me, we got my mama, we got her mama, we got her mama, then we got her mama. I'm the 5th generation out. of chattel slavery. And do you know, in my family, myths are still passed down that are untrue because they believed it. Because if you go back to, so that's my mother, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, my great-great-grandmother was not educated. My great-grandmother was not educated. My grandmother, education stopped at 4th grade. Right? My mother had an education. But do you know that whatever great-great-grandmother told great-grandmother, great-grandmother told grandmother, and grandmother told my mother, and my mother told me? But I just happen to be a critical thinker. And I always question things. Maybe that's the Aquarius in me. I don't know. But I always question things. And I didn't believe whatever was just told to me just because they said it. Yes, somebody's saying post-traumatic slave syndrome. You are absolutely right. And that's how it looks. And we have to question these things. We have to question because we have to understand our history. And we have to know that a lot of this stuff came from our history, including our immunity. So what am I talking about? Let's get into it because I'm about to be finished. I'm about to done this. So let's go back to our immunity. I wrote my notes because I don't want to give y'all any misinformation. This is dated back to chattel slavery. And we're going to take it back to the 18th century, which is the 1700s, 1730 or something like that. We had an outbreak of yellow fever. Do y'all know about that? The outbreak of yellow fever. And the outbreak was found in South Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. And there was a Dr. John Lining, who had went on the slave ships to inspect the slave ships and its cargo. And you know who the cargo was, right? They went to inspect the slave ship and its cargo. We were the cargo. And what he noted in his observation were the people who were being subjected to or susceptible to the yellow fever seemed to be the Europeans, and that the slaves were doing just fine. That is what he wrote in his notes. So you got to understand why that was written in the notes. See, it was written in the notes because slaves are enslaved Africans, so let's humanize us. The enslaved Africans was a source, it was commodity. It was economic commodity. It was for the economy. It was making people rich. So if you go back and say, this whole cargo is no good, do you know how much money that would be lost on that ship? That's just like, put it in perspective this way. Let's look at it this way. You know, with this whole pandemic, I don't know how it's happening in y'all states, but in my state, in the state of New Jersey, towns are shutting down left and right. I did a video on Facebook. You guys already know. Before they even made us shut down and quarantine ourselves, we was already on a shutdown. I walked through on a Sunday morning at about 11:30 a.m. where that place is usually booming. People are usually walking around, out eating, on their bikes, walking with their kids. Empty. It was empty. So we already did it before the ban came. But what happens when the ban is in and they're telling restaurants and bars that they have to close. Now, if you're in a restaurant and you're in the food business and they tell you you have to close indefinitely, you have to close for at least at minimum 2 weeks, what do you think happens to that food? Especially with the state law, with the food and safety laws and how it goes. You cannot sell that food. That is food that has to be thrown away. And that's why people in the restaurant business lose so much money because they have to get rid of food because of the standards that the food administration or the food safety, whatever it's called, the limits that they put on food, it dictates how long you can keep food. And certain foods you can keep. They dictate what it is, and everything else has to go in the garbage at a certain time. So you lose money. You lose money. You got to look at enslaved Africans during that time the same way. If they would have said that this is a bad batch of chicken, it's spoiled, it's rotten, it's no good, we can't eat it, all that chicken goes in the garbage. And is especially damaging if that chicken was supposed to bring in capital. It was supposed to bring in revenue. And now it's not going to be bringing in revenue. So when Dr. John Lining gets on that boat and he says, the cargo seems to be fine, just the white people dying. And if the black ones, the ones that was like all passed out and look really sick, you stay. You don't look sick, you go. You stay, you go. You go, you go. Ooh, you stay, you go. Oh, he's dead. Throw him on the boat. You go. That's what it looked like. So they brought him on. They brought him on land. And he wrote it down in his observation about the yellow fever outbreak. He wrote it down. He aided false beliefs that Africans were immune to yellow fever. And those recorded beliefs became fact. Now, what do we know about yellow fever, family? What do we know about yellow fever? Where did it originate? Who can tell me where yellow fever originated? Now, while y'all looking that up, so I know some of y'all Googling, and that's cool. While y'all looking that up, I want to say, share the video. Somebody saying China, wrong. Someone saying Europe, wrong. Look it up. Look it up. Look it up. Somebody said the Bronx. Funny. No. There you go. Who said it? Africa. What part of Africa? Somebody else is saying Africa. Then I got another Africa. Thank you so much, Africa. Thank you so much. What part of Africa? Now we get the Africans coming. What part of Africa? It was in West Africa, people. West Africa. And what was transmitting yellow fever? How was it being transmitted? Through what vehicle? Come on, people. That's why y'all got to share the video. Share the video, family. Share the video. It was being transmitted through mosquitoes. Thank you. You get an A+, a good woman digi. She said it's mosquitoes. There you go. It was transmitted through mosquitoes. So what does that mean? That means when it already hit West Africa and it was being transmitted, people that got it, some survived and developed immunity. Once you get it, the antibodies come. You don't get antibodies from not getting it. You get antibodies from getting it. This is biology 101. 101. You get antibodies after you fought it. So when you develop those antibodies and it comes again, chances are you're not going to get reinfected or it's not going to be as serious because you have already developed the antibodies. Now, when the non-melanated people come on our coast and they don't have the antibodies for what we have, what do you think is going to happen to them? What's going to happen to them is what's going to happen, what already happened to us that we developed antibodies from. Right? So when Dr. John Lining got on that ship and he wrote down that Africans couldn't get it, it was a lie. It was a lie. But it became science for them. But we now know it was pseudoscience. And why do we know this? Because 50 years later from the first outbreak of yellow fever in Carolina, 50 years later, it happened in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. But this time around, a student, or not a student, he wasn't a student, but he was somebody who really followed the work of Dr. John Lining. He really followed the work. And his name was Dr. Benjamin Rush. And what Dr. Benjamin Rush did, he was an abolitionist. He didn't believe in slavery, right? So he fought against it. He was an abolitionist. And what he did was when the yellow fever broke out in Philadelphia, he convinced African Americans to stay behind, not to flee. 20,000 people fled Philadelphia. Out. They were gone. And he convinced African Americans to stay and said that he was going to train them and he was going to teach them to be nurses, to be grave diggers, to be caretakers. He was going to give them the skills that they want and not to worry about it because you're immune. And you know how they do. They always have a friend or a best friend in our community. And Dr. Benjamin Rush had two little best friends, the founders of the AME Church, Absalom Jones, and what was the other person's name? Something Allen. Richard Allen. Absalom Jones and Richard Allen. He talked to them. He let them know that African Americans can't get it. And he cited the works of John Lining. And they believed him. So what do you think the pastors did? The pastors went to the community, the black community, and told them, stay, you're going to get the training. He's going to help you. This is what's the good Christian thing to do, for you to stay here and help out your sisters and brothers. For the least of us, you got to do it in the name of Jesus Christ. You got to help these people. Don't you leave. Don't be afraid. Fear not. No weapon formed against us shall prosper. You should not be afraid. As long as God is walking with you, you can conquer anything. You can do anything. Guess what happened to those black people? Guess what happened to those black people? They stayed behind and they was doing the Christian thing to do. And so many of them contracted yellow fever. And too many of them died. All because they went by what Dr. Benjamin Rush was saying, because Dr. Benjamin Rush was using the works of Dr. John Lining, who lied. Who lied? Who lied? Pseudoscience. No evidence, no facts, just poor observation and falsified documents. And it became science. It became science. So there are dangerous consequences. There are dangerous consequences to this whole thing about saying we are immune, and I'm just very cautious of that stuff, right? So we talk about we're conscious, and we talk about how we're critical thinkers, and we talk about we about to do this is the new civil rights movement, and we gotta get smarter than what we put out on the internet. We gotta get smarter about what we're saying. Like I said at the beginning of this video, you can go ahead and keep claiming that you're immune. I ain't making that claim. I ain't gonna have no white folks following me at night, looking at me, looking at my picture. Looking at me. I think that's the girl from YouTube that said she was immune. I think I get about $50,000 for her organs and her DNA. Yeah, go get her. I'm sorry. I ain't trying to get snatched up. I ain't out here talking about I'm immune to anything. Nah. But I will tell y'all this. Now, I'm just kidding. I ain't going to tell y'all what I'm immune from. You got to understand, for us to walk around here saying that we have these supernatural inoculations, right? Like we can't get certain diseases we're immune from. For us to walk around and have this as our theory, that's rooted in racist beliefs. It's rooted in racist beliefs. We can't feel pain. We're immune from things. We don't get sick and die. We can work harder than anybody because we're strong and we're the strongest, and we don't need all the extra attention. We don't need the medical care. Like all of that stuff is rooted in racist beliefs. And when we walk into these emergency rooms, they think like that. If somebody come in and say, "Oh, my stomach is hurting," they tell them, "Go on, sit down. Your stomach ain't hurting. Ain't nothing wrong with your stomach." Think about it. Listen, I'm guilty of that myself. Because like I told you, the 5 generations got passed down from my great-great-grandmother to my great-grandmother, from my great-grandmother to my grandmother, from my grandmother to my mother, from my mother to me. And this is what have been passed down. I'm pretty sure when I say it, y'all want to have it done in your house too. But this is what was passed down to me and my family line. If you ain't bleeding or throwing up profusely, you're going to school. Ain't nobody missing school in this house. I remember one day my son said, Mom, my stomach is hurting. Can I stay home? I can't go to school. And I automatically thought it was a bold-faced lie or it was overplay. And I said to him, I said, you better get up. No, ain't nobody staying home here. Did you throw up? No, I didn't throw up. I didn't feel well. What do you mean you ain't throw up? You don't feel good? Boy, you trying to get out of school. You ain't in no pain. Shake it off. You probably got to go move your bowels. Go to the bathroom, move your bowels. You probably got to eat something. Go ahead and eat something. You're going to school, boy. And I sent him to school. And 2 hours later, the nurses picked me up and they said that he wouldn't stop vomiting and now he was running a fever. And I sent him to school sick because that's what my mother did to me and that's what her mother did to her and that's what her mother's mother did to her. You ain't sick. You ain't in pain. That don't even hurt. Get up and brush it off. And from that moment on, I made a conscious decision never to do that to my children, to take their complaints of pain seriously. We got to understand that these things are rooted in racist beliefs and they have been passed down from generation to generation. How many of us don't go to the doctor when we in pain? Y'all know I'm a hypochondriac. I'm like, oh, let me go to the doctor. Oh, Lord Jesus, I got that Rona. Let me go. I don't play no games. But I wasn't always like that. Because we weren't allowed to feel pain. We weren't allowed to be sick. You have to get up and keep it moving. And there are so many of us in our community that dropped dead because we ignored signs that we were hurting. We ignored signs. Or we go to the doctor, we don't want to sound weak. We don't want to be like, doc, is a 10. When they ask you, how bad is your pain? 0 to 10. We don't want to be like, is a 10. We be like, it's a 3 because we tough. I mean, I'm saying it's all right. It's a 4. Sometimes it's like a 4. You know, sometimes a 5. Today's like a 3. Naker. It's a 10. Say it is a 10. So you can get the proper medical treatment and care you need. Somebody said I say 15 plus, right? I'm always on 40. You only go up to 10? You got to take it up to 40, doc. My head feel like it's going to explode. That's important. So you got to ask yourself, where's that coming from? Where is this macho strength that we have in our mind? Where's that coming from? Where's that coming from? We so hard body. We dropping dead. We so hard body. Where's that coming from? I even watched my grandmother, 94 years old, and still has problems admitting she's in pain because she fears going to the hospital. She fears that we're going to take her to the hospital. So according to her, she ain't sick. The woman done broke both hips. Both hips. And refused to get services in her home. Still trying to get up and walk around with a walker, refuse for you to open doors for her, refuse for you to pull out a chair for her, refuse for you to hold her back. She want to do everything herself because she's strong. But lie down in that bed by herself in pain. In pain. We carry on these racist beliefs that we're super strong. We carry on these racist beliefs that we can do anything. Don't worry, I'm immune to it. I'll go save the world. Meanwhile, back on 221 Front Street, you start sweating, diarrhea coming out from everywhere, you're vomiting everywhere, but you're immune to it because you want to be super strong and save the world. No, not me. Not me. No. You take that on your own. You take that on your own. Right? But that's what happened. That's rooted in history. And it's racist. Let's talk about the false beliefs that kept us enslaved. First of all, the false belief that was perpetuated was we were the ones that were better suited for slavery. Meaning, oh, God must have wanted those people because those people don't get sick. Those people are super strong. They're not passing out. All this stuff. So They're the ones that got to be in slavery. It was that belief that kept us in slavery. It was that belief that kept us in slavery. See, the belief was, oh, well, we couldn't enslave we couldn't keep the Native Americans enslaved because they was getting sick and dying. Yeah, that's true. They was getting sick and dying too, but that's not why you couldn't keep them enslaved, because them jokers fought back. If you really want to talk about it, we really want to get funky with it, they fought back at all costs. You could not control them. They were unruly. They had the hitman. They had everything. They knew the land, and they were fighting back left and right. You can whip him tonight, and tomorrow he won't try to kill you. See, whipping him wasn't going to get him in line. So yeah, diseases did wipe them out. But you also didn't keep on it because you knew that you couldn't sleep at night when close your eyes and wake up the next day. Because he was going to make sure you wasn't going to wake up the next day. Point blank, period. Right? But those were beliefs that kept us enslaved. That because we were super strong, we weren't getting any sicknesses and diseases, we were suited for slavery. Or what about we don't feel pain? Who's the father of gynecology? Remember him? Remember his experiments on black women without anesthesia because they don't feel pain? Cutting them open, removing stuff from them, no anesthesia. Because the belief was we didn't feel pain. That was the belief. Right? What about the experiment with syphilis on black men? Come on. Come on. I'm not making this stuff up. Because of false beliefs about black men. So although a cure was present, they withheld it on purpose to see what would happen because of false beliefs about blacks and black men in particular. This stuff is rooted in racist history. I'm not trying to perpetuate any of that. Right? So you got to understand, there's so many false evidence out there. There's so many lies out there. What is saying that it can't survive in warm temperatures? Where are you getting this dumb shit from? We just out there just saying stuff. Did you know that if you go look it up on the CDC and WHO, World Health Organization, COVID-19 is in the Caribbean too? Aruba. What's the other one I saw? Jamaica. Jamaica got more cases than many of the islands out there. It's there. So why do we say stuff like this? And we want to perpetuate it, and then we want to argue with each other. Listen, you can believe what you want to believe. That's fine. I'm going to believe what I want to believe. But if we're talking about fighting an enemy, that's my bottom line here, right? That's my bottom line. If you want to believe that we have immunity, that's fine. You go ahead and believe it. I don't believe it. I don't share that belief with you. But the only thing I'm asking is, can we get on the same page? Can we stop having this conversation publicly, putting things in the enemy's head so that the enemy can use it against us? Can we be a little bit smarter than that? That's what I'm asking. Is that something that we can do? It's dangerous. It's dangerous to put that kind of information out there. It has grave consequences. It has grave consequences. And if you think that we're still not being experimented on, you're sadly mistaken. It has grave consequences. I don't want to go to the doctor and the doctor assumes that nothing is wrong with me because this doctor believes untrue things about black folk. I don't want to drop dead because medical treatment wasn't given to me how it will be given to one of my counterparts because they believe or assume I have supernatural inoculation, I don't feel pain, I can withstand heat. Those things are lies. I don't know about you, but I don't like the heat like that. Give me 75 degrees. That's my max. I'll get irritable in 90-degree weather. I'll be wanting to fight people in 90-degree weather. Right? So that's all I have for y'all sisters and brothers. I had a donation that came through. Let me see who gave it in so I give the proper thanks to you with the donation. I see a lot of people on YouTube. My YouTube be popping. Listen, Facebook, if y'all not on YouTube, y'all really need to get over there to YouTube because they be popping. Sister or brother, I did see the donation come through. I want to say thank you. I'm sorry I didn't capture your name. I was just so into the conversation that I didn't get your name. But I do see the donation came there. So I just want to say thank you for the donation. I want to say thank you for the donations that I received in Cash App. I want to say thank you to Gwendolyn. I'm not going to say anybody's last name, but Gwendolyn, I want to say thank you to you. Yolanda, I would like to say thank you to you as well. I would like to say thank you to Raymond. Raymond, I think it's pronounced Raymond or Rahman, but I want to say thank you to you. Kydra, I think that's how you pronounce your name. Kydra, I want to say thank you to you as well for the donation that came in through my Cash App. And then I had some PayPal donations. I got to get back to you guys with the PayPal donation because I can't use my phone to log in to see. But I want to say thank you to all of you guys. Listen, I want you guys to know you can believe whatever you want to believe. We're having healthy discourse, and we're not always going to agree on everything, and that is fine. We're not a monolithic people. We don't live in a monolithic society, and I damn sure don't encourage groupthink. I want people to think on their own. But what I'm saying is, after we have our difference of opinions, what do we agree on? That's the bottom line. What do we agree on? What can we do to move forward together? So if we agree that a lot of black women and black children and black men, but we don't seem to talk about our black men enough, a lot of us are going missing. If we agree on that, that's a check. If we agree that body parts, organs have come up missing from some of our people, if we agree on that, that's a check. If we agree that our melanin is being sold on the black market, if we agree on that, that's a check. If we agree that we're being experimented on medically, if we agree on that, that's a fact. If we disagree on immunity, that should not be what divides us. That should not be name calling. That should not be separation. That should not be, oh, I don't like Dr. Shauna now because she telling folks that we not immune. I don't believe in that because we come from the magic God of the East and the West and the South, and we get anything. We can do anything. If you believe that, that's cool. That's okay. That's okay. That should not be enough for us to stop the fight together. That's all I'm saying. So if you believe it, and talk offline about it. Get in your little circles and talk in your little circles. Don't be talking about it publicly. Don't be talking about it on social media because outlets watch everything we do. Everybody watches us. And social media has leveled that playing ground for us. This is how our voice gets heard. This is how a lot of people have been selected to come on and be guest people on CNN and all these other shows, and they're out there and they're perpetuating false information. False information. And we got to understand that sometimes we are plucked. So what I mean when I say plucked, I mean, like, if you're the one out there and you're saying things that we know is not rooted in evidence, you have nothing to back up your claim. You might be right, but you got nothing to back it up. We know that we'll be plucked, and they will plop us in front of TV for all of the world to watch, and they will make us look like a fool. And they will use that. They will use that to downplay our intelligence. They will use that against us. So we have to be very careful of what we're doing and what we're saying and what we're sharing and what we're posting and what we are believing publicly. We have to be very careful about that kind of stuff. because we are the heartbeat of America. And believe it or not, everybody watches what we say. Everybody watches what we say because we are in the fishbowl. And the only thing we need is some crazy mad scientists to look at some of our claims and decide that they want to test it by kidnapping our black ass bodies. That's the only thing we need. Right? So that's all I have for you, my sisters and brothers. I'm 4 minutes over. I love every last one of you guys. Make sure y'all share the video. Thank y'all for your love and support every day. Thank you so much for your love and support. I mean, I'm only doing this because y'all. That's it. Because I could be under the rock in my own little world, doing what I want to do, off the radar, so nobody can know what Shauna is thinking and what Shauna is feeling and what Shauna got to say. I can keep it all to myself and keep it moving. I do this because I believe that we are on to something big. I'm in the fight. We are in the community. We're making waves, but we got to be smart with how we're playing this chess game. Every last one of us. So good night to all my brothers and sisters. Good night to my kings and my queens. Share the video. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Like and follow me on Facebook. But most importantly, it doesn't cost you anything to do it. Just hit share. Just hit share. Have a great night.